So remember how I said in my review of Spirited how Disney's live-action musicals aren't good anymore? Well, I thought that the sequel to Enchanted, a pretty good live-action musical from Disney, would change that. But no, the bullshittery of Disney being incapable of making good live-action musicals continues, and I continue to pay for my sins because of it. Disenchanted is the long-awaited sequel to the beloved film Enchanted. Here, we find Giselle as she has difficulty in adjusting to a new town, her bond with Morgan keeps slipping, and everything seems to be going wrong. So when she receives a magic wand, she makes a wish for everything to be like a fairy tale, only for her to begin to turn into an evil stepmother. When the first Enchanted came out, I was a little kid and society told me that boys couldn't like movies with princesses in them. Despite thinking it looked like fun, I didn't end up seeing it until earlier this year. I think Enchanted is a lot of fun and a great satire of Disney films, specifically the fairy tale ones. Disenchanted is the exact opposite of that. What should have been another easy film to poke fun at the tropes of Disney ends up being a cliched, uninspired mess of a movie with some of the laziest musical numbers and songs I've seen them put out in quite some time. I guess before I tear into this one, let's go over what I did enjoy. I think the cast is still fantastic, with Amy Adams being as great as she always is, Patrick Dempsey gets some fun stuff to do, and Maya Rudolph being a fun villain. It's clear the whole cast is having a blast, and at times it can be a bit infectious. I think the story, when it finally gets going, is a pretty clever setup, and there are some moments where you can see the charm and creativity of the original film shine through. And that's where my praise of the film stops. While the premise of the film is fun, from beginning to end, it's the same old cliche story of person moves to new town, doesn't fit in, the kid gets made fun of at school and doesn't feel like they belong, someone tries to change their world, things go awry, and love saves the day at the end. When I tell you this film threw no surprises at me, I mean it. If you've seen just a good handful of kids movies over the past 2 decades, then you know exactly how this film ends. Where the first film sure had its own cliches, it offset them by poking fun at the cliches and taking turns that were a bit surprising. Here, the chipmunk turns into a cat. I guess that's a surprise. There's so many elements to the narrative that just show up and are completely forgotten about a minute later. Patrick Dempsey's character is worried that his life is boring, then he turns into a sort of prince and his character goes on no arc whatsoever. Morgan meets a boy at school, they have a whopping 2 interactions with each other. I think they wanted to set up as a romance and it's completely forgotten about. Just, need I go on? The ending especially is one of the most rushed, cliched, and just straight up bad finales I've seen in a while. Things about this world are barely established, the rules of magic make no sense, and it's clear the writers are just making it up as they go along. By the end of the film, I was so happy it was over. And the musical numbers. Oh, the musical numbers. I already mentioned in my Spirited review how lazy Disney's live-action musicals have become, and this is another crowning example of their laziness. Anytime someone bursts into song, it never feels warranted, and the songs that are sung just feel like your typical, this new place is great, I wish my life was different, oh we're happy now type of songs. Which is incredibly strange, seeing that Alan Menken, the writer of some pretty great Disney musicals, wrote the songs for this. I don't know if it was because of how lazy the script was, but this is clearly not his best work. Then there's the numbers themselves. Just about every single one of them is just people standing and singing, and that's it! There's no inventive filmmaking techniques being used, the choreography, when it appears in one song, is fine, everything just feels lazy and forgettable. Musical numbers in films should be about using song and dance to express oneself in ways that can't be done normally. Sure, having a song or two just be people standing and singing is fine, but you need to have the other numbers do something! Anything! To justify this being a musical. If you're not going to put in the effort into the numbers, then why make it a musical at all? The spark of life and imagination that was once present is all but gone here, and that's incredibly disappointing to say. Disenchanted is a prime example of everything wrong with Disney and their live-action musicals lately. Rather than give you something clever and creative, they'll give you the most generic and bland thing they can with the least amount of effort put in because they know you'll eat it up. We should be demanding better effort from Disney, but who knows if that'll happen. I'll try to hold out hope for the Little Mermaid remake, but given it's from the director of Into the Woods and Mary Poppins Returns, I think it's safe to say another bad live-action musical will be upon us soon. I'm going to give Disenchanted a 4 out of 10.